Hey everyone, and welcome back to another Nether Hub build tutorial. I'm going to be using creative mode for the build today just for simplicity's sake, but we are going to talk about some things that you need to watch out for if you are building in survival. And here is a list of materials that you'll need for today's build. The materials for the ladder will vary depending on how far away you are from the ceiling and also what types of blocks you want to use. So let's pretend this is the portal that we came through from our main base in the overworld, and we're going to build right in this area. I like to build my nether hubs in the ceiling because it's a lot safer than being out in the open in the nether, especially early game. And it's really helpful if you can build it close to your portal to your main base, because once we get everything built up there, we're going to move the portal up into the ceiling so that we don't ever have to come to the surface of the nether unless we want to. So the first thing we're going to do is build a ladder so that we can get up to the ceiling. And if you're in survival, you can do this by climbing the ladder and holding shift as you build. You can place a block and then a ladder and move up one at a time, like so. And you can keep the ladder as it is, or if you want to be a little safer about it, you can build a little wall around it. You can either do solid blocks, wall blocks. I like to actually do glass in the middle of mine so I can see out. So for this example, I'm going to use some black stained glass because I think it looks really nice. And all you would do is continue to build this up until you get to the ceiling. And make sure you don't forget to actually leave yourself a big enough spot to be able to come in here and get up and down the ladder. Having this little wall around your ladder will protect you from mobs because the mobs can't actually see through the glass. So it doesn't have to be solid, it just has to be blocks that mobs can't see through. So if you're in here and there's a ghast, don't worry, it can't see you through the glass. Just make sure you don't forget any spots. You can really use any blocks that you want to build this, anything that you think looks good. I like to use anything that looks really out of place in the nether so that if I'm out traveling, I can spot my ladder pretty easily from a distance. And just make sure we have everything closed up all the way to the ceiling. And when we get to the top, we're just going to knock out a few blocks so that we can get up here. And so that we can build a little area around the top of this. That should be enough. And I'm just going to use polished basalt. You could continue the walls up here if you want, but I think this looks a little bit better. And then obviously on this side we're going to continue the ladder so that we can keep climbing up. And we want to make sure that we go up to Y level 110 because we want to give ourselves plenty of room down here for places where the ceiling is a little thinner. That'll make more sense when we start building our roads that we're going to use to travel. This block up here should be where our floor will begin. So I'm going to continue this basalt all the way up. Alright, so now we're at Y level 110. I'm going to actually knock out this block and change that to basalt so everything matches. And instead of the ladder, I'm going to put a waxed copper door here so that it stays that orange color. And I'm just going to open up a little space right here so you guys can see. And we're going to go 9 blocks out in each direction. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And then we're going to do the same thing on this side, and the same thing this way, and the same thing this way as well. So now we've got 9 blocks dug out in each direction, and we're going to widen this out to be 5 across. So right now it's 3 across. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So like this, and we're going to do the same thing in each direction. So that'll open up a little bit in the middle because there'll be some overlap. So let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Alright, so this is what it looks like when you have everything dug out. Make sure each hallway is 5 by 9. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's correct. And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. That's correct. Alright, so just pick any side and we're actually going to take another layer of the floor out, like so. Alright, once that's dug out, then we're also going to take out a row down here. And we're going to replace it with gilded blackstone. Just like that. Then we're going to take out this side and this side as well. And we're going to replace that with regular blackstone. Just like that. And then on these outer edges, we're going to take this row of netherrack out as well on both sides. And we're going to replace it with magma blocks. Make sure if you're in survival and you walk on these, make sure you crouch because it'll keep you from taking damage. Alright, then once we have that all laid out, we're going to cover everything with black stained glass. And when that's all done, this is what it should look like. And I know it's kind of hard to see through the black stained glass, but make sure you don't leave any holes because the glass is actually what's keeping spawns from happening here, so we want the whole area covered in glass. Now we're going to do a similar pattern over here. We're going to knock out another layer of floor on this side, and then we're going to break this center row and replace it with gilded blackstone. And we'll break out the rows on either side of the gilded blackstone and put regular blackstone. And then the rows on the outside will get broken and replaced with magma blocks. Okay, so it should look like this, and your magma blocks are going to come to a corner right diagonal from this whatever block you used for your trapdoor area. And then again on this side we're going to fill it in on top with this black stained glass and make sure that you don't skip any spots. Alright, so that is what it is looking like so far, and we're going to do the same thing in this direction and this direction as well. Alright, now all 4 sections of the floor are finished and covered in glass. The last thing we need to do for the floor in this area is to take some pale moss carpet and cover this basalt so that this is not spawnable. Alright, for the next step we're going to, let's just pick this side, and we're going to dig out 1 level here, or 1 layer, and then we're going to go up 9 blocks. So I will cut away and I'll show you guys what that looks like. Okay, so this is what it looks like when we have this dug out, and just to verify, this is 9 blocks tall, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And I've dug this all out, and we're going to dig this out all the way across to the other side as well. And then same thing on these sides, we're going to dig up 9 blocks and then just dig all of this netherrack out. So I will come back in just a second once that's done to show you what that looks like. Okay, so after all of this is dug out, this is what it should look like. Make sure that all of these are 9 blocks tall, and don't forget this extra layer past the glass on each side. So there should be a layer past the glass on each side and 9 blocks up. The next thing we're going to do is build some archways. So we're going to remove this layer of, oh, there's a hole back there. This layer of netherrack and fill it in with some nether bricks, and we'll deal with that hole later. Put 2 more on each side, and then 1 of the chiseled, and then 2 more of the regular nether brick, and then some upside down stairs like so, and then some slabs on top of the stairs, and then a chiseled block in the middle like that, so it should create an archway. And then we're going to knock out 3 blocks up. So 1, 2, well, you don't have to knock out that one if you don't want to. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And we're going to fill them in with some polished basalt like this. So it should look like that. And since this is a solid block, you won't be able to see that other netherrack behind it. We also want to make sure that these are spawn proof. So I'm going to do a row over here of some polished blackstone buttons. And that will spawn proof this block, but we also need to make sure we throw some buttons down on these side blocks because those are spawnable. And then these are slabs, so they should be fine. So that should be everything should be spawn proof now. And we're gonna throw some nether brick fences in there like that. Then we're gonna grab some polished blackstone bricks, and we're going to do 2 rows of those up top like that. And then we're gonna knock out 2 columns on the side. And we're going to take this one all the way down to the bottom past the glass so that you can see the blackstone through the glass. Just like that. So we shouldn't see any netherrack on the side, so we're going to do the same thing over here. And then bring this one all the way down to the bottom. Alright, then for the middle area, we're going to knock out a column here. And we're going to put some polished basalt in there like that. Same thing on this side, and then we're going to knock out this block and put another one there. And then we're going to take some iron bars and fill in the corners. Oops. And then don't forget a polished blackstone button here in the middle because that block is spawnable, so that'll help keep spawns from happening if you have that button there. And now everything should be nice and spawn proof, so we're going to repeat the same thing on each of these other 3 directions that we have. Now all of our archways are finished, and we need to make sure that we label them since they all look the same. So what we're going to do is take some pale oak signs right on this block here, and this is facing north, so I'm going to label it north, and then we're going to throw some glow ink up there to make it a little bit easier to read. And we'll do the same thing for all the rest of these. This one will be south, so we'll call that south. And then same thing with the glow ink to make that a little bit easier to read, and we'll do that to all 4 of these. Alright, now that we've got everything labeled, we can start building our soul speed roads just by knocking out this column of netherrack and filling in the bottom with soul sand, like so. And it's a good idea to put some kind of light source in here, first of all so you can see, second of all to help with spawns. We are in a soul sand valley right now, so we will get skeletons if we don't put any kind of lighting in here. And what I like to do is always put the light on the left side as I'm moving away from the nether hub, because that way, you know, if you're way far down in the tunnel and it looks the same both ways, you can easily tell. I always try to remember it, like if the light is on the right side of me, I'm heading the right way back home. But you can do it any way that makes sense to you. That's just, I always do that, so it's easier for me to remember that way. We've got an opening here. That's a little dangerous, but yeah, I would go ahead and just throw those in the left-hand side so that you can see. And since this is just an example, I'm going to close that off. And we got to make sure that we make these unspawnable for other types of mobs. I like to use stone buttons just because they're pretty cheap and they're not super intrusive. But depending on what biome you're building this in, you know, if you were in like another waste or something where you could get piglin spawns, that could be a problem. So you want to make sure that you keep something on these blocks so that you can still move across them, but other mobs can't spawn. And if I put on these boots that I put soul speed on, you can see that these are actually pretty fast and a good way to travel around. So since this is just an example, I'm only going to build about this much just to show you guys. I'll show you guys at the end how I would go about connecting to any other portals that you have, but for right now we're just going to try to finish this central nether hub area. So what we're going to do next is just pick one of these corners and we're going to dig it out 7 blocks in each direction. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then we're going to go to the other side. And we're going to do the same thing over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, oh, and 7 would have been this one. And then we're going to dig this all the way out, all the way to the top. So I'll do that and then I'll come back when I've got that dug out and show you guys. This is what it should look like when you have all of that netherrack removed. And so we're going to go up here and we're going to use some blackstone bricks to connect these 2 posts like this. So it should just come out to a triangle like that. And then we're going to knock out 1, 2, 3, 4. And we're going to fill those in with blackstone. And then we're going to knock out a column down here. And we're going to fill that in with blackstone as well. So you should have 4 spaces in between each of these columns. We're going to do the exact same thing over here. 1, 2, 3, 4. Fill that in with blackstone. And then we're going to bring a column down to the bottom. So you should have 1, I guess, block of space in between those 2 columns here. And then we're going to take some blackstone stairs and we're going to place those upside down in the corner here. Like that. Actually, you know what? We're going to grab some blocks and do that first. And then we're going to do the upside down stairs because I think that looks a little bit better like that. And then down here at the bottom, we're going to take some polished basalt and we're going to knock out the edge of this little platform, sort of so it matches this platform in the middle. Just like that, so that underneath the glass you can see the side of the basalt. And then we're going to take some more blackstone and we're going to come over here and we're going to connect these like so. And then we're going to knock out a block here so that there's a dip, because what I'm going to do is place lava in this corner. And you want to make sure that you place the lava up inside here so that it doesn't branch out and it just goes straight down in a singular column like that. And make sure that you do knock that block out, because if you don't, the lava will spread out on the floor, and we don't want that. We don't want it to just go straight down. And then we're going to take some iron bars and we're going to build a little protective cage around that so that we don't accidentally burn ourselves. And we're going to take that all the way up to the top here. So it should look just like that. Alright, and then we're going to come over here and we're going to knock out 4 blocks and 2, 3, 4 blocks. So we have a 4x4 square. Just like that. And then we're going to knock out another layer of this netherrack down here. And we're going to replace it with orange concrete powder. So this is supposed to look like lava. I wanted originally to put some lava under this floor so that it looked like this lava flow was coming down and sort of, you know, creating like a lake underneath. But it was setting things on fire when I was testing this, so we're just going to use the concrete powder and cover it in this stained glass and pretend that it's lava. I mean, it doesn't have the movement that the lava does, but it looks pretty similar, honestly, at just a glance. So there is that, and then let's take some pale moss carpet and cover this area on the outside to make that spawn proof. And we'll spawn proof the rest of this as we build. Then the roof, I would like to replace this layer of netherrack with some netherwart block, because it's a really pretty red and it looks really cool up here. And now for our smelting area, we will knock out a layer of this netherrack between these blackstone columns that we made. And we're going to go all the way up to the top. And then we're going to knock out another layer down here, and we're going to place 2 double chests just like this. And then let's replace these blocks behind them with some blackstone. Let's actually replace that one as well. And then we're going to throw some hoppers on top of these. And then on top of the hoppers, I'm going to use 2 regular furnaces and 2 blast furnaces. And you can use however or whatever kind of furnaces you want. The regular furnaces are good for netherrack, and the blast furnaces are good for like the gold that you find, the gold ore that you find in the nether. But you can put whatever you're going to use there. Let's knock out another layer of netherrack and put blackstone just like this, because we're going to throw some hoppers on top of these guys. And we don't want to see that netherrack in the background. And then we're going to put 2 more double chests on top of here. And then in front of our chests, I want to throw some pale oak doors to kind of hide those, so that it looks a little bit more polished, I guess. Alright, and then on top of this, we're going to place some polished deep slate stairs, yeah, facing out that way, and then we're going to place these upside down so that it looks like sort of a little fireplace, and then we'll have a little like chimney stack thing going up to the ceiling. And then for behind this little stack, I decided to use some smooth stone slabs because they have a little bit more texture to them than just the regular smooth stone blocks. And it looks sort of like tile or something back there. And the light color contrasts the dark of the deep slate, so I think it looks kind of interesting, sort of industrial. And we can get rid of this torch. I just put that there temporarily so you guys could see better. Alright, and then down here, to make sure that this is all spawn proof, we're going to throw some carpet. And so that finishes that side. Alright, and on this side we're going to build a little lava farm so that we can do some unlimited smelting. We're going to start by knocking out another layer of the netherrack, just like we did on the other side. Alright, and then I'm going to count up 6 blocks. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm going to get rid of those. So on the 6th block up, we're going to put 1 blackstone block, and then we're going to do the same thing on the other side. And then we're going to put a block of redstone and another block of redstone. And then we're going to cover both of those with mangrove trapdoors. And then back behind here, we'll knock out another row of the netherrack and put some regular basalt facing this way so that we can see the texture on the side here. And then we'll throw some polished blackstone stairs upside down right here. And we can go ahead and knock out this other layer of netherrack. And let's go ahead and replace all of this netherrack through here with some blackstone bricks. Just like that. Same thing on this side. And we'll go ahead and replace this whole layer with blackstone as well. Alright, so like that. Alright, we'll come up top of here and we'll knock out another layer of netherrack back here. And then this little layer here, we should see the top of the basalt that we just placed. And then we're going to dump a bucket of lava on each of these 4 spots here. And then we're going to take our basalt and we're going to place it facing outward so we can see this kind of gravelly looking texture on the outside. So like that. And then we're going to take 2 slabs, cover that up, so make that that'll make that spawn proof. And then we'll throw a blackstone button on each of these blocks to spawn proof that as well. So this should all be spawn proof. And then we're going to place 4 cauldrons directly underneath this basalt. And then we're going to take some dripstone and we're going to go 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3 on both of those outside blocks. And then we're going to do 2 and 2 on the inner blocks. And then let's replace these 2 blocks with some blackstone, and we're going to put 2 dripstone on each of these blocks as well, so that we have a goofy little spider face. Little spider monster. And then we're going to make sure that we don't forget to spawn proof this area with some moss carpet. And we can remove this temporary torch. And there we go, we have our little lava farm. So these lava cauldrons should eventually fill up with lava as long as you have lava sources on top of each of these basalt blocks, and you can use that for smelting. So there is our smelting / lava farm area finished. Actually, one last thing I noticed that we still need to fix is the inside wall of this little square, because we can still see the netherrack and it doesn't match the outside, but I also decided to change this polished basalt to regular basalt. So let's remove this carpet real quick, take out this netherrack, and place our basalt facing downward so we can see that cool side texture. And then we can replace the carpet. And then we'll do the same thing on this side. And we can replace the carpet there. And then let's go ahead and do the same thing around the edge of this whole platform as well. Taking out the polished basalt and changing it for the regular basalt. There, I think that looks much better that way. Alright, so now we can say that this section is completely finished. Now the next section of the Nether Hub that I want to build is going to be the Piglin Trading Hall, and we're going to use this corner over here right across from the smelting area that we just built. And we're going to start this off exactly the same as we did over there. We're going to dig 7 blocks in, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We're going to turn and we're going to go out this way, and we should... Yep, come out the other side right next to this blackstone pillar. And we're going to knock out all of these blocks all the way up to the ceiling. Okay, so now that all that netherrack has been removed, we're going to come up to this wall and we're going to take out another layer all the way to this corner. And we're going to do that all the way up to the ceiling. Alright, so it's going to look like this to start. And then we're going to do the same thing on this side. We're going to go all the way out to this corner. And we're going to go all the way up to the ceiling. Okay, so that's what that should look like. And then we're going to go over into this corner and we're going to put a column of blackstone. And then we're going to connect these along the top of the wall here like that. Alright, and then we're going to actually bring these out and meet in a little triangle like we did on the other side. So just like that. Alright, and then the ceiling, we're going to actually do the same thing we did over on the other section, and we're going to replace that with some Netherwart block. Alright, so the ceiling is all red. It looks awesome. And then around the edges of this platform, we're going to do the same thing again as we did on the other side, and make sure you face your basalt with this little gravelly looking texture side up. We're going to go all around the edge, just like this. Alright, so there is everything so far. Now to build the area where the piglins are actually going to stand, we're going to come here and we're going to count 1, 2, 3, and on the third block we're going to use some quartz pillars and we're going to go up 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're going to skip a block and we're going to do another pillar. 3, 4, 5. We're actually going to knock out a couple of these blocks and we're going to do another pillar in this corner. And you can leave that for right now, we'll fix that later. And then skip another block on this side, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and one more block. 3, 4, 5. So you should have a total of 5 pillars, each a block apart. And make sure you have 2 blocks on this side and 2 blocks open on this side to make sure it's even. Alright, and then we're going to take some glowstone and we're going to knock out a block in between each of these columns, and we're going to fill it with glowstone. This is where the piglins are going to be standing. And then we'll take some quartz stairs and we'll line them up like this to make sort of a counter. Like that. Alright, and then we're going to come over here and we're going to count 2 squares up from the glowstone, and we're going to place upside down stairs. Same thing for each of these little booths. And then we're going to place upside down stairs all along this top row. Like this. So that they connect. And then you can go ahead and fill in these empty spots with some more quartz pillars. And actually, it makes mob proofing a lot easier if you just go ahead and fill this in as well. And then we're going to take some stairs and make a little decorative piece on each side. Bottom and the top. Oops, make sure that's upside down. There we go. Alright, and then this middle stair here, we're going to put another stair facing that direction, and then this middle stair here, we're going to do the same thing facing that direction. And then, let's see, we'll probably have to put a temporary block here and a block of gold in the middle, and then you can get rid of that one. And then a quartz slab on the bottom. So it should look like this. Oh, and you know what? Let's actually fill in the backs of these little booths with some more quartz pillars to make everything match. There we go. That looks a little bit better. Alright, and now we need to worry about mob proofing. So the tops of some of these blocks are spawnable. These stairs are fine. This whole area is spawnable, so we're going to use some white carpet. And we're going to cover all of these flat blocks up here that are spawnable, including this gold block here. Alright, so that takes care of that area. You could also do buttons or something else if you don't really like how the carpet looks, but I think it blends in pretty decently, and you're not going to usually be up that high to see it anyway in survival. And then for the counter, let's alternate. Actually, yeah, we'll put the carpet on the areas where the piglins aren't standing, and then where the piglins are going to be standing, we'll put these little pressure plates here. There, just to kind of break that up a little bit so everything's not just completely white. And then let's put a little carpet down here. And Netherwart block is not spawnable, at least not right now. So as long as that doesn't change, then that carpet should be safe. Now we're going to take some blackstone and we're going to fill in this wall behind here so that it is all, oops, so that it's all blackstone back here. Just like that, we're going to do that across both these walls. Okay, I think that looks a little bit better now. And then we're going to come over here and we're going to build some columns, and we can remove that. That was just temporary. We're going to build a column all the way up to the top right next to this blackstone pillar that we made earlier. And then we're going to skip 1, 2, 3 blocks, and then we're going to do another pillar all the way up to the ceiling. Just like that. And then we're going to do the same thing on this side. And skip 1, 2, 3. And then all the way up to the top. Then we're going to take some quartz stairs, and we're going to place them upside down on either side of these pillars. Like so. Alright, and then in between these pillars is where we're going to put our chests to collect the drops that we get from trading with the piglins. So I'm going to fence this off with some iron bars. I'm going to go up 3 rows, just like this. And then I'm going to knock out these 3 blocks of netherrack, and I'm going to replace them with some glowstone just to kind of light up this area a little bit better. And then I'm going to place 3 chests like this, and I'm placing them facing that way so that they don't connect into double chests. And we're also going to put some item frames on the outside and label them later. And we're gonna go up 2 more rows. So that we have a total of 9 chests, a 3x3 block of chests. And we're gonna do the exact same thing over here. Alright, so we've got all of our chests placed. Now we're gonna go up on top of these iron bars. Oops. And we're gonna place a stair facing this way. And another one facing this way. And we're gonna put a gold block in the middle. And then we're gonna place another thin carpet on top to keep that from being spawnable. And we're gonna do the same thing on this side. Alright, so we wanna make sure the rest of this floor in here is not spawnable. And right now the netherrack is spawnable. So we're gonna throw some more of this moss carpet in here to match the rest of the nether hub. And there you go. Everything in here should be non-spawnable. So now we can label our chests. We'll take some item frames and just slap one on each of these. Alright, and we'll throw up some of the items that piglins will trade. Alright, so all of our chests are now labeled. And I actually designed this nether hub right before the last update came out where the piglins can now actually trade dried ghasts. So there's no place to store them in here, but you could always make an extra storage chest in another one of the sections over here, or probably most of the time you just take them home and grow them anyway. So I don't know if that's really necessary. Oh, one last thing I forgot is we also need to place some carpet on the edge here because that is also spawnable. So now everything should be safe in here except for the glowstone, but once we have some piglins in here, we won't have to worry about that anymore. Okay, so now that our piglin trading area is all ready for piglins, we need to talk about how to actually get some piglins. So since I'm in creative, I can actually just spawn a piglin. And that makes it pretty easy. But if you're in survival, it's going to be a little bit different. So if you happen to build your nether hub in another waste biome or a crimson forest, you might actually get lucky and have them spawn while you're building. If not, you can actually dig out some of your passageways and just maybe dig out like a room to one of those biomes to get some piglins to spawn. In this case, we are in a soul sand valley, but I know that if I head south, which I think is in this direction, yeah, if I was to extend this path out a ways and not spawn proof it, I could get a chance of spawning some piglins and I could catch them in boats and bring them over here that way. But you want to make sure once you get your piglins that you name tag them so that they don't despawn, because if you don't name tag them, they will go away. And you also want to be sure, I think this guy has a sword. Yeah, okay, so a sword is fine. You want to make sure you try to avoid any that have crossbows or spears, because they're going to get mad at you when you're opening up these chests, and if they have ranged weapons, they can attack you while you're doing that. If they just have swords, they're just going to be mad and they're not going to be able to do anything, and then eventually they'll get over it. If you're able to catch a piglin in a boat, don't forget that you can use leads now to pull them, and you might have to remove some of the carpets if you do that. But you can pull them along with you instead of having to actually be in the boat, so that will speed things up a little bit. You can also lure them with gold, so if you have some gold bars, you can throw them in the area where you want them to go, and they should, yeah, there he goes, trap themselves just like that. So that's another easy way to get them into place if you're not spawning them. Alright, I got some more piglins in here, everybody's name tagged, and the last thing we've got to do in this room is just add a little bit of extra light. So I'm going to choose this block from the diagonal 1, 2, 3. I think that will probably be good placement. Yeah, we'll do that. So 2 end rods and then a glowstone, another end rod at the bottom, and then these pale oak fences on each side to make a chandelier, and then we'll throw some end rods on the bottom of the fences. Bottom of the fences to make it a little bit more shiny. And there we go. So our piglin trading area is officially finished. Alright, so the next section of the nether hub we're going to be building is going to be a potion brewing area / netherwort growing area, and we're going to do the exact same thing over here that we've been doing, where we dig out 7 blocks in each direction and then just take out all of this netherrack in a big chunk. So I'm going to do that real quick and then I'll cut back to show you guys. Alright, and we're going to prepare this area the same exact way that we did for the piglin trading area, and we're going to take out a layer of netherrack all the way to the wall and all the way up to the ceiling on both sides. Okay, so it's going to look like this, and then we're going to do the same thing in the corner here. We're going to do a column of blackstone bricks all the way to the ceiling, and then we're going to connect these 2 columns across just like that on both sides. And then we're going to bring these out again, oops, to meet in the middle here in a triangle. we're going to do something a little bit different on the sides. So we're going to take some blackstone walls and we're going to do one... Oh, you know what? Actually, before we do that, let's change these out on the edge for basalt like we did on the others. And again, make sure it's facing up like this so that you can see the gravelly texture on top and this cool side texture on the side. There we go. Okay. Now we're going to take the blackstone walls and we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4 on this side, and we're going to do 4 on this side as well. And then we're going to go up 3 blocks with this nether brick fence, and we're going to connect this all the way out to the end. Just like that. And we're going to do the same exact thing over here. 1, 2, 3, and then bring that out to the end. And then on top of there, we're going to do another row of the blackstone fence. Like so. Same thing over here. Alright, and then we're going to use this nether brick fence to go all the way up to the top. All the way to the end. Just like that. Same thing on this other side as well. Alright, so once that's done, that should look like this. And then we're going to take our soul sand and we're going to do a row along the back wall, just like that. And then we're going to bring this out 3 blocks. Same thing on this side. 3 blocks. And then, let's see, for now, we'll come back to that in a second. We're also going to place a row that's right along this wall of fences. And we're going to leave 1 block blank. So we're only going to do 1, 2, 3, 4 blocks from the wall. So same thing over here. We're going to do 1, 2, 3, 4. So it should look like that. And you should have 1 blank space here. And then we're going to fill this in along the back just like this. Alright, and we'll finish that later as well. And we're going to switch our attention to this wall. And we're going to put some windows in here to lighten this up so you guys can see a little bit better, and also to kind of help minimize certain spawns like skeletons. So we'll knock out this wall, and we're going to change this block of netherrack out for a shroom light. And we're going to do the same thing over here. So 1 space past this column, shroom light, 2 spaces, shroom light, 1 space. Just like that. Then we're going to do the same thing over here. So skip a block, shroom light, skip 2 blocks, shroom light. That. We're going to do the exact same thing down here. We're going to skip 1 space here, put a shroom light in there, skip 1 space here, shroom light in there, same thing on this side. Alright, and then we're going to place some nether brick fences in front of these, so it's going to look like a little window. We're going to do the same thing for all the ones on top as well. And then for our wall texture, we're going to use this basalt. So we're just going to go through and we're going to replace all of this netherrack with the basalt that's facing out so we can see this cool texture on the top. And we're going to do that for the top and the bottom walls as well. All of these walls are going to be basalt. Alright, so the walls are all filled in. Now we're going to take a lodestone and we're going to come to the corner of the room here and we're going to count 1, 2, 3. So the 3rd block from the corner, we're going to place that down. And we can actually throw our brewing stand on top of there. And then our soul sand, we're going to bring this around just like that. And we're going to do the same thing on the other side. So there should just be 1 block of space all the way around this brewing stand. Like so. And then the top layer, we're going to fill this in. Actually all the way out to the corners. Just like that. So it should just be like a triangle cutout right there. Alright, and then on the 2nd floor, we're going to come over here to the corner and we're going to knock out this corner block, and actually we should probably replace that with some basalt as well. And we're going to do the same thing over here, knock this out, and we're going to plant some weeping vines on this block here. And you can either plant a bunch of them or you can just let them grow. And this is how we're going to get up to the 2nd level. Alright, then down on the bottom floor, we're going to place some barrels for storage, and we're going to skip this block. We're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. And then we're going to do the same thing over here. Skip this block 1, 2, 3, 4 for a total of 8 barrels. And we'll throw some item frames on there. Alright, and then we're going to label these. This is going to be for our blaze powder, our netherwort, bottles of water, and magma cream for some fire resistance potions. And then over here we're going to store the fire resistance potions that we get from the piglins if we have any extra. And then some gunpowder and some redstone dust to either create splash potions or to extend the length of the potions that we get from the piglins. Okay, and then we can go through and we can plant our netherwort. And in these corners we can still plant netherwort. It's just that this weeping vine won't go all the way down into this block. That's fine because you should still be able to get, you should still be able to get up and down even if that block is taken up by netherwort, so that should be okay. And we'll plant our top floor as well. Alright, so one thing you've got to be really careful about with this netherwort farm is there isn't a great way to spawn proof these blocks. Depending on what biome you're building in is what you're going to have to deal with as far as spawns. So since we're in a soul sand valley right now, we'll have to worry about skeletons, which this light should stop the skeletons. We also have to worry about ghasts. So I think that this is 1, 2, 3, 4. So this ceiling up here is 4 blocks from here. I think that's big enough for a ghast because I think they need 4x5 or 4x4. Anyway, what we're going to do is fill in this ceiling with this netherwort block. It's going to match the color of all the other ceilings, but it is going to be 1 block lower just to hopefully prevent some ghast from spawning. We're going to bring this all the way out to the end, and then right here, this little 3x3 square, I'm just going to do this like normal because the floor down here is going to be mob proof, so this won't count for mob space or spawnable space. And as far as the floor goes, we're going to use pale moss again, and we're just going to go all the way around here with this pale moss. Don't forget this corner. And this will prevent any mobs from spawning on the floor here. As far as the soul sand blocks themselves, that is still spawnable space. So if you are building this in a crimson forest and you're going to get hoglin spawns or piglin spawns, it might be a good idea to go ahead and fence this whole thing off, and you could actually build like a little window in here for yourself to be able to shoot them with a bow or something before you go in, or maybe put a door on here so that you can do something about them before you actually are in danger. One other thing we're going to do real quick just for decoration is to place some hanging pale moss on these corners so that they come all the way down to the second floor or the first floor. And we're going to also place one in this corner, but we're only going to bring it down to here so that that's not in the way, and these shouldn't grow on their own, so it should stay just like that. Alright, so that is the potion brewing / netherwort growing area completed. Alright, so the very last area that we need to build in this nether hub is going to be where our portal is going to go, and also a little storage area. And we're going to get this ready the same exact way that we've been doing it, digging out 7 blocks on each side and then just digging this whole square out. So I will do that real quick. Alright, so our area is dug out, and we're going to go along this edge just like we did with all the other sections and place some basalt facing up like this, and then we're going to cover that with the moss carpet to match all the other areas. Okay, and then for the wall, it's a little bit different than some of the other walls that we've been doing. So we're going to come up here, and on this left side we're going to start at this block, and we're going to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we're going to place some polished basalt facing outward just like this. And then we're going to knock out this column of netherrack all the way down to the ground, and we're going to fill it in, with blackstone bricks, just like that. So it's going to look a little bit weird at first. And then we're going to take out this row of netherrack and fill it in with blackstone like that. We're going to do the same thing over here, just like this. So they should meet in the corner. And then we're going to put some blackstone in the same sort of triangle pattern that we did on the other sections. So the top should look like that. Alright, so for this area we're going to do a column of polished basalt. On that side, and we're going to do the same exact thing over here. Alright, then we're going to take out this layer of netherrack all the way down to the ground. Okay, so we should have a 1 block deep opening in this little shelf area. Then down here, we're going to take out these 3 blocks and replace those with the basalt facing upward so we can see this little square pattern. All right, and then we're going to do 1, 2, so 2 blocks up from the bottom. We're going to knock out that netherrack and replace that with some horizontal basalt, just like that, to make a shelf. Okay, and then from this shelf, we're going to count 1, 2, and then we're going to break out the rest of these 6 blocks, 2 blocks tall, like that. And then we're going to cover this row of netherrack in some upside down stone stairs. And we're going to come up here and we're going to break out these top 3 blocks, just like this. And then we're going to replace these sides with blackstone. We're going to replace these 3 blocks in the back with blackstone like that. And then we're going to replace these 3 blocks on top with blackstone. So everything up here is going to be blackstone, and then this is going to be netherrack, because we are going to light this on fire and we want it to stay on fire for decoration. And we're going to throw some pale trapdoors down there to cap that off so we don't actually have to see the netherrack color, but we can keep this fire up here. Okay, and then underneath this shelf we're going to knock out 3 more blocks and we're going to replace those with glowstone to give us a little bit more light down here. And then we're going to replace the sides with blackstone as well as this back wall with blackstone. And then we're going to place an ender chest here, an armor stand right here for some extra gold armor, and a crafting table right there. And then right down here at the bottom, we're going to build a little hidden basalt generator. So we're going to knock out these 3 blocks of netherrack. We're going to knock out this middle one in the floor here, and we're going to put soul soil down there. And then we're going to throw some blue ice in one of these 2 sides, and then we'll put down some pale oak trapdoors down here. And then a bucket of lava in the other side, and then that should generate some basalt. So anytime that you want to generate some basalt in your world, you can just come in here, open this up, and mine this, and it's hidden out of sight. Alright, so now on this right side, we are going to build our new portal. And in order to do that, we need to remove a layer of netherrack all the way up to the top. Okay, so now that that is cleared out, we're going to build our portal. And we can skip these bottom corners, or you can put some like netherrack or something in the bottom here because we're not going to see those. But we want this frame to go all the way around, and in the corners we're going to use crying obsidian, or at least in the top, because those ones we'll be able to see. So bring this all the way down and around. So it should look like that. And then we're going to throw some crying obsidian in front of these blocks like that. And we're going to put respawn anchors on top of each of those. And then we're going to put some glowstone in there to light them up. And in order to prevent spawns on top but still see this really cool texture, we're going to throw some black stained glass. And it looks a little bit weird at first, but eventually you don't even notice it anymore. So we're going to leave that like that. And then we're going to put some polished blackstone stairs in front here to make it easier to get in and out of the portal. And then for the wall behind the portal, just so there isn't this red color peeking through, we're going to remove these blocks and we're going to fill this in with some regular blackstone. Alright, so it should look just like that. Alright, and the next step is really easy. We're just going to fill in the ceiling with some netherwart block just like we did everywhere else. And there is our red ceiling. And now for the floor, we're going to do something a little bit different over here. We're going to remove this row of netherrack as well as this row and this row. So all the way around, and we're going to change that out for polished blackstone brick. And then we're going to remove all of this netherrack in the middle. And then we're also going to remove this row underneath the stairs and replace that with brick as well. Then we're going to remove one more layer of netherrack underneath here. And now we're going to take some purple glazed terracotta and we're going to place it so that the little pickaxe is facing inward in our design like this. So all these little pickaxes are coming together. And we're going to do the same over here as well. This might take a couple tries to get it placed the way that you want it. Like this. And this one is like this. So that when you're finished, it looks like that, and it's got this little like sword and shield thing in the middle of the floor. And then we're going to take some black stained glass and we are going to cover this up to make it spawn proof. And then we're going to take some black carpet and we're going to cover this row, or this little outline of the black stone bricks, so that that is also spawn proof. Okay, so with the carpet and the glass, the floor over here should all be spawn proof. These trapdoors are spawn proofing this area. All of these shelves should be spawn proof. These trapdoors are spawn proofing this area as well. And then once we light the portal, these blocks won't be spawnable, so that is all safe. So one more thing we need to fix is the rest of this ceiling. I want everything to match a little bit better. You could leave it this way if this doesn't bother you, but I think what I'm going to do is connect all of these little blocks like this. So it's like a big grid on the ceiling. Right across like that. And then I'm going to replace all this netherrack with some netherwart blocks so that everything is the same shade of red. I just realized that this crafting table might actually be spawnable space, so let's throw a carpet up there just in case. And I also forgot to put some gold armor on this armor stand. So this will be nice to have an extra set in the nether in case you forget when you come through your portal. So here is what the finished ceiling looks like. I threw a shroom light up in the middle just to give it a little bit more light in the center area. And I think that looks pretty good. Alright, so the next thing we're going to do is actually go back down to our original portal. And we are going to break it. And we're going to light the new portal that we built in our nether hub. So this should be connected to our main base in the overworld, and every time that we travel from there to the nether, we should teleport through this portal and arrive in our nether hub, which should be safe as everything is spawn proof. And then if we want to travel down into the heart of the nether, we can do that. But if we want to just spend time up here gathering materials or traveling to other bases, we can do that safely. Now the last thing I want to show you guys is how I usually link portals when I am making nether roads in my nether hub. So for example, let's say that we have a portal in the overworld. It is x coordinate -400 and z coordinate 800. So one block in the nether is actually 8 blocks in the overworld. So you have to make sure you take your coordinates and you divide them by 8. So if we did that, we would get x equals -50 and z equals 100. And personally, the way I like to do it is start with the higher coordinate and I'll dig in that direction first. So in this case, that's south. And then I'll turn and I'll do a tunnel in the second direction. And then I'll build my portal in a little room at the end of there. So I'll show you guys how I do that. I also want to show you guys how you can deal with openings in the ceiling like this. Usually I just crouch just to make sure that you can't fall off of here. And you can fill in the floor as you go. Just like this. And then just be careful for things like ghasts, hostile mobs that are going to spawn, that might spawn up here. And all you're going to do is maybe grab some netherrack and just sort of box yourself in as you go, until you reach another portion of the ceiling that's closed. Alright, so I've been digging now for quite a while, and I wanted to show you guys, if you are in Java Edition, you can hit F3 on your keyboard, and that will bring up your coordinates. And if you look in the upper right hand corner, you can see the player coordinates, so that shows where your player is on the map. And I like to use the targeted block, which you can see on the left hand side. And as you can see, the block that I'm looking at is what's changing. And as we're moving forward, the z coordinate is going up, so we are at z100. So this is where I would turn and I would head in this direction. So you can see when I head in this direction, I'm now facing west. You can see that up here in the right hand corner. And as I go forward, the x, kind of hard to tell with such a small space. So we'll start back here, and as I go forward, you can see that the targeted block, the x coordinate is going down. So we want to go to -50. Alright, so digging for a little bit longer, I got to the coordinates that we're looking for. You can see right here, this is x equals -50, z equals 100. So if I build a portal here, this should take me to the place that I want to go. And usually what I do is I just dig a little room out. I threw some glowstone up here so you guys could see. And what we'll do is we'll build a portal. And don't forget to slab this area or do some glass or something, some way to make it non-spawnable, so that you don't get any hostile mobs in here. It's also a good idea to label your portal. We'll just say like other base for now. Something so that you remember where this goes. Sometimes I actually like to decorate the portals according to what biome it comes out in. But yeah, there you go. All you would have to do now is just light your portal and then you should be all set. I'll throw on some boots and I'll show you guys how cool this road is. And again, with the lights in the right hand side, it's easy for me to remember which way is which. Can you tell from here? Yeah, you can still see the portal. Yeah, if this road was a little bit longer, it'd be easier to show you guys, but it can get really disorienting when you're in a really long tunnel. You can't really tell which way is which, so it's good to have the lighting on, or something, on one side or the other to help you figure out which way to go. Alright guys, that is the Nether Hub build for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope it was easy to understand. If there's anything that you're confused about, please let me know in the comments and I'll try to help you guys out. Recording coherent thoughts is so difficult for me sometimes. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!